The Book of Leviticus, unlocking the ancient blueprint of holiness. The Book of Leviticus is often one of the most overlooked and misunderstood books of the Bible. Yet, within its pages lies a profound message about holiness, worship, and the relationship between God and his people. What if the very book that many skip overholds the key to understanding the heart of God's covenant with humanity? Let's dive into 25 fascinating facts about the Book of Leviticus that will change the way you see this ancient text forever. Fact 1. The name Leviticus and its meaning. The name Leviticus comes from the Latin word Leviticus, which itself is derived from the Greek Levitican, meaning pertaining to the Levites. It refers to the Levitical priests who were responsible for temple worship and sacrifices. Fact 2. The authorship of Leviticus. Traditionally, Moses is considered the author of Leviticus. The book is part of the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible, which are attributed to Moses' authorship. Fact 3. Its purpose. Leviticus serves as a guide for the Israelites on how to live as God's holy people. It outlines moral, ceremonial, and civil laws intended to keep the nation pure and in right relationship with God. Fact 4. The Holiness Code. Chapters 17 to 26 of Leviticus are often referred to as the Holiness Code. These chapters provide a set of moral and ethical guidelines focused on holiness in everyday life. Fact 5. The Sacrificial System. Leviticus details 5 main types of sacrifices: burnt offerings, grain offerings, peace offerings, and guilt offerings. Each served a specific purpose in worship and atonement. Fact 6. Clean and unclean animals. Leviticus 11 outlines the dietary laws regarding clean and unclean animals. This was not just about health, but also about spiritual purity and distinctiveness. Fact 7. The Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur. Leviticus 16 describes the most important holy day for the Israelites, the Day of Atonement. On this day, the high priest would enter the Holy of Holies to make atonement for the sins of the nation. Fact 8. The concept of blood. Blood plays a significant role in Leviticus, symbolizing both life and atonement. For the life of the flesh is in the blood. Leviticus 17 verse 11. Fact 9. Rules for priests. Much of Leviticus is directed at the priests, detailing their responsibilities, conduct, and requirements for serving in the tabernacle. Fact 10. The tabernacle's role. The tabernacle was central to worship, serving as a dwelling place of God's presence among his people. Leviticus provides instructions on how sacrifices and rituals should be conducted within it. Fact 11. Moral and ethical instructions. Beyond rituals, Leviticus gives moral laws that emphasize justice, compassion, and fairness, such as command to love your neighbor as yourself. Leviticus 19 verse 18. Fact 12. Purity laws. The book outlines various laws of purity, including those related to childbirth, skin diseases, bodily discharges, and more. These laws emphasize the importance of spiritual and physical cleanliness. Fact 13. Holiness is separation. Leviticus emphasizes the idea of being set apart for God. Holiness is seen as both moral purity and ritual cleanness. Fact 14. Offering for thanksgiving. The peace offering or fellowship offering was a voluntary sacrifice made to give thanks or to establish fellowship between the worshiper and God. Fact 15. The importance of obedience. Leviticus makes it clear that obedience to God's commands is essential for his blessing and fellowship. Fact 16. The priestly blessing. The priests were given the responsibility to bless the people, establishing the idea of God's favor resting upon his people through ordained mediators. Fact 17. The scapegoat ritual. During the Day of Atonement, a scapegoat was released into the wilderness, symbolically carrying away the sins of the people. Fact 18. Distinctiveness from pagan practices. Many of the laws in Leviticus were intended to separate the Israelites from the pagan cultures surrounding them. Fact 19. The Jubilee Year. Leviticus 25 describes a year jubilee, occurring every 50th year, when slaves were freed, debts were forgiven, and the land rested. Fact 20. Blessings and curses. Chapter 26 outlines the blessings for obedience and curses for disobedience, emphasizing the covenant relationship between God and Israel. Fact 21. Prophetic foreshadowing. Many aspects of Leviticus foreshadow the coming of Christ. particularly the sacrificial system, as a precursor to Jesus' ultimate sacrifice. Fact 22. Ceremonial versus moral laws. While some laws in Leviticus were ceremonial and symbolic, others carried eternal moral principles still relevant today. Fact 23. The importance of repentance. Leviticus teaches that repentance and atonement were necessary to restore fellowship with God after sinning. Fact 24. Holiness in everyday life. Holiness wasn't limited to the tabernacle. It was meant to permeate every aspect of life, including social justice, ethical conduct, and personal relationships. Fact 25. Its relevance today. Although many of its rituals are no longer practiced, the principles of holiness, obedience, and devotion to God remain powerful lessons for believers today. The Book of Leviticus may seem like an ancient and distant text, but its message of holiness and devotion to God remains as relevant today as it was for the Israelites in the wilderness. From the intricate rituals to the timeless call to live righteously, Leviticus challenges us to examine our own lives and draw closer to the God who desires fellowship with his people.